I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I will never say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I do have some questions that I would love to have answered that keep me up until 3 a.m. every night. Like, what happened at Roswell? What actually resides behind Area 51? What was the purpose of Woodstock? Where is Jimmy Hoffa buried? What really happened to DB Cooper when he jumped out of the plane? And what did Florida do to piss off the college football gods going into 2023? Because for this staff, in a must-win season, also in a new era of the sport, they have a schedule that not even college football Satan himself could have came up with. And we're doing this series called X Factor, where we define one key coach, player, or coordinator that will determine the season's success or failure. Who do you think it is for Florida going into 2024? You got your answer? You said Graham Mertz, right? Wrong. It's Billy Napier. We all knew that. But what's going on, SECU? It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video and hit the ring notification. That way you don't miss a single episode. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Make sure that you're following us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Download and make sure that you follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson or my own YouTube show at Mr. Cole Thompson. And to keep up with the #1 content surrounding your favorite conference, make sure you visit SECUnfiltered.com. This episode of SECU is brought to you by RHOBACK. Use the promo code SECU for 20% off joggers, polos, hoodies, and shorts. SECU at RHOBACK.com for 20% off. Tell them that the folks at SEC Unfiltered sent you. Billy Napier faces the most pressure in college football this year. Whether it's fair, whether it's right, whether you agree with it, it doesn't really matter. It is the reality of the situation. Billy Napier is facing a lot of outside pressure and a lot of outside noise. But this is also a staff and a schedule and a season where you can't go ahead and put a number on the board and say, if he doesn't reach this, then he has this happen. Or if this doesn't happen, this happen. You can't do it. And the reason you can is because of even the most, I would say, balanced teams, maybe not elite teams, but balanced, consistent teams in the SEC that would play this road schedule, play this matchup, and then close out the year with games against Texas, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State would be beaten, would be bruised, and would certainly not go unscathed. So you can't say when it's all fair and dandy for Billy Napier to go and hit a number that all these other teams that they hit the same number. You can't, because it wouldn't happen that way. But the reason why Billy Napier is the X factor is for 3 main elements. Number 1, you got to look like you're a year 3 program. This is a team that cannot falter in moments of weakness. They cannot be going out to the field on a punt formation and be missing a gunner. They can't have a false start on 3rd and 1 because they're playing in a hostile atmosphere and it leads to 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 13. They can't have careless penalties. They have to look like a team that actually is making the jumps into year 3. Billy Napier believes that. You hear any podcast, you hear any interview, you hear anybody that you talk to down in Gainesville, the outside noise is really negative. The inside noise is really positive. They like the direction of where their program is. They like the current players that they have. They like what they brought in via the recruiting trail. They like what they have via the portal. They think that they're in a good spot to where they may impress. Reason number 2, this is a big year, is because of this feels like a season where after the entire Jaden Rashada situation goes on, if it does reach new heights, they could find just cause to let go of Billy Napier to where even if he is a really good coach, what they're doing is they're not waiting around to see what this is going to turn out to be. So Billy needs to win because if he wants to be able to say, I'm doing things in the right direction to where you want to support me, I'm supporting you, it's time to return the favor. And reason number 3 is because Florida has a certain expectation in the SEC. They haven't been at the elite level since Urban decided to go ahead and get on out of college football, only to return and win a national championship in the Big Ten. We'll discuss that on another day, not the point. They have not been at that level for almost 2 decades, since Tim Tebow was residing the sidelines. That's what we're talking about when it comes to what Florida should be. Billy might be the right guy, but the thing is that nobody at this point, when you continue to make the careless errors, when you continue to find yourself paddling upstream with styrofoam pads, when you constantly are putting yourself in neglective situations, is going to want to hold out hope for you. Nobody is. So those are the reasons why he is the X factor. Now, here's the good news. I actually like what they've done in the transfer portal offensively. They brought in some really good names. They already had Trey Wilson. He is going to be a superstar, number one legit wide receiver this year. I will not be shocked if he is an all SEC type of player. I like their running back room. They still have Montreal Johnson. I think their offensive line is fine. There's nothing to write home about, but it is probably one of the better top halves in the SEC. They also bring in Elijah Badger. That is a proven wide receiver that has experience. That's going to be, I think, a very big fixture coming on over from Arizona State. They also brought over Shamir Dike. That was a plug-and-play addition that already has a great relationship with Graham Mertz from his time at Wisconsin. So they have some wide receivers in play that are going to be really beneficial. They also completely revamped their defensive staff. No more Coach Chaos. No more Jay Bateman. They bring in Ron Roberts. That's a veteran name. And for Austin Armstrong, who's the defense coordinator, that's really good to have just a veteran presence to work alongside. Maybe when you hear those comments made by Princely and Manley Ellen saying, well, defensively, they didn't really prepare me for that. Well, maybe with Coach Chaos now creating chaos in College Station, that's a good thing for you. Now that type of defense that was so dynamically awful and flawed last year won't be the problem this season. The other thing is that Graham Mertz, we need to at least give some respect to his name. I'm not saying at all that we need to treat him like he is the biggest and best quarterback in the SEC. But the reason why we don't talk about his progression and how Billy Napier turned him into actually a quarterback that met expectations last year is because of really, he's just a quarterback. Like, he's like mashed potatoes. Nobody ever talks badly about mashed potatoes. Nobody ever really talks fondly about mashed potatoes. He's good middle tier type of guy. And so gets middle tier results. 20 plus touchdowns, 5 interceptions, completion percentage above 65%. That's kind of expected. Billy, though, has to show that there is progress moving forward because he does have good players waiting in the wings for his long term. He did a really good job in the recruiting trail. Yes, he lost some players, but he kept the main one in DJ Lagway. And Lagway is one of those guys that a year from now may end up being a reason why, regardless of what happens with Florida this year, we kind of just open up in the window and say, well, he's been balling throughout spring football. Well, why are we not talking more about Florida? Like, we're giving egregious high hopes for them, and we're putting them in the top 25 preseason rankings. What? Because Lagway can be that type of player. But to be that type of player, Billy's got to get there first. I think Billy's a good coach. There's a lot of people out there that will probably look at me and say, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. Congratulations on losing the audience here. No, I've seen Billy before. I know that he has been able to learn from mistakes. If he hadn't, then he would have never been hired as an offensive coordinator after that stint when he was at Clemson. But he went to Arizona State, and then he got a head coaching job, and then he led one of the more downtrodden programs in the Sun Belt to back-to-back conference titles before he ever came to Gainesville. And there are players from that Louisiana squad that have made it to the NFL roster, whether it was from Louisiana or it was going to Gainesville for a season and then making it to the next level. He knows what he's doing. You just got to give him time. Time is right now something that isn't guaranteed for him, but results might bide him a little bit more time and put him in the right direction moving forward. If there is one X factor in terms of head coaches this year, it's Billy Napier down in Gainesville. If he shows you that there is results where games that you feel like that you should win, you do. Games that you feel like that you should lose, it's close. It's down to the wire. You're making one final stop, and unfortunately, it just doesn't go your way. Well, at that point, you can't really fault the guy, but you can say that's a sign of progress. But if you continue to see the same mental mistakes over and over and over again, and more of these type of lawsuits come out, more of these type of conversations behind closed doors about NIL boosters offering $13 million and he knew about it, yeah, unfortunately, at this point, sometimes it's better just to cut your losses and start fresh. But let me know in the comment section down below, who is the X factor for Florida going into 2024? Is it Graham Mertz? Is it a defensive player? Is it Billy Napier? Make sure that also you like, rate, review, subscribe to the channel, download the podcast version of the show, like it, subscribe over there, make sure that you give us a 1-star. Hate this type of content, a 5-star if you love this type of content. Make sure also you're following us on all the social media channels at SEC Unfiltered, and to check out all of the #1 content surrounding your favorite conference, visit secunfiltered.com. I'm Cole Thompson. Until next time, Gator fans, SEC faithful, later.